I might get stabbed to death. Dear Hamza, I fear for my life. I might get stabbed. What should I do? There is no hope. Backstory. I'm 14 years old and I've been on self-improvement for 1 year. My family is pretty wealthy. However, for some reason, our apartment is in one of the worst neighborhoods in Sofia, the capital city of Bulgaria. Let's just Google that and let's just see what comes up. Sofia near Bulgaria. Yeah, like this. So he said his family are pretty wealthy, but for some reason they live, I'm assuming, in a place like this. Yeah, I wouldn't want to live there personally, bro. That's crazy. In my neighborhood, the air is very polluted. I can't walk down the street or open a window without coughing and getting black snot in my nose. The reason for that is because right next to our neighborhood, there is a ghetto of gypsies and Arabs. Thanks, bro. As heating, they burn trash. Oh, okay, so like these gypsies are cold outside, and to warm themselves up, they burn trash. I inhale all kinds of estrogenic shit, like tires, plastic wrapping, etc. Yeah, people actually do this. I was in Bali recently, and this is gonna sound privileged as fuck, but I was on the rooftop of my villa with my private boxing coach, and we start to smell smoke, and we look over, and it was one of the local guys who was basically living in a shack, and it was basically just like setting fire to trash, to plastic, I don't know for what reason, because it wasn't cold, so I don't think he was warming himself up. It's just like weird shit that like people in different countries do. I've never understood it. It's like they'll burn fucking chemicals and then just sit there, but it's not like for warmth, because it wasn't cold like at all. It was like the warmer month anyway, and yeah, in different countries. It's absolutely crazy that this kind of thing is allowed. This is actually one of the reasons why when I came back to the UK, I was saying this to my girl. It's like, people are sleeping on first world countries. Loads of all these influencers are telling you that the West is falling and stuff. No one's burning plastics around here, bro. No one's like, there's no random fire when you walk through the street. Like, it's a very well set up, like, few countries that are in the West that are first world countries. You don't have problems like this. I just want to make that point, because this shit where people just burn rubbish, it happens in many third world countries, but it basically never happens in first world countries, at least in the UK. It's not uncommon for teenagers or middle-aged people to get beaten up, robbed, and threatened with a gun or knife. A few guys will usually jump on a target and fuck him up. In Bulgaria, a few months ago, a group of gypsies brutally chopped each other into pieces with axes. Now you know a bit about my situation. Let me get into the story. It was a dark, cold, cloudy day, and I was returning home. I'm just laughing because that's like, I don't know, it's a good way to start a story. I was returning home from the gym. I entered the old, beaten down, smelly public transport tram. I sit down and I start doing something on my phone. A few stops later, 3 Turks enter. Turks meaning like Turkish men. They encompass me, so they surround me so that I have no way to exit. They start staring at me in hopes to intimidate me and start laughing about something in Turkish. I look up and hold one of the guys' eye contact. All of them are bigger than me, around 18 to 20 years old, I would say. I ain't no pussy, so I keep holding eye contact. But at some point, shit gets funny and I smile. They start chatting crap in Turkish. I'm a pretty uplifting, happy guy, so in my broken Turkish, I make some jokes and say some funny words. They laugh and I think everything is okay. We all exit on the same stop. 2 of the guys say goodbye and go in a different direction. I start walking in my own direction, but the third guy follows me. And I think, oh, he's probably just heading home in the same direction. He slaps my neck. I look at him and he smiles and says something in his language. I think, oh, that was probably a friendly way of getting my attention. Weird, but okay, let's carry on. This is where you fucked up, young man. This is where you fucked up. The dog nips at the owner to see if the owner is weak enough to let the dog feast. When you let the dog slightly bite you, just slightly, what you're telling it is, oh yeah, you might actually be the alpha in this situation. A lot of fights often start exactly like this, where the aggressor just does something small but physical. He'll slightly push you. He'll often, it's pussy shit like this where he'll hit you in the back of your head. In fact, let me tell you a story. This happened exactly to me. I remember I was in a nightclub when I was like 19 years old, and there was like a big move, like almost like a commotion where, you know, someone moved or something like this, and I took a step back, and maybe, you know, like someone bumped into me, I bumped into the other person, something like that, right? And a few seconds later, there's a fucking thump on the back of my fucking head. And straight away, I think, oh, it's my friend who's just got my attention that way. I look behind, there's just two guys, like two Pakistani guys looking at me, and oh, my friend's not there, whatever. I turn around, same fucking thing, punched in the back of my fucking head. I look around and I get close to this guy. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He's looking at me weird and everything. And I'm like, I don't even know if it was this guy I'm looking at, but like, you know, it's these two guys staring at me. So I'm probably like looking at him aggressive. And I slowly turn around again. And I get punched again because I'm a fucking retard. And I just kept on like looking away. And this time it's getting serious. This time we're pushing. This time my girl comes over, pushing us all away and everything. I went home that night thinking, what a fucking idiot I was. I let these guys punch me in the back of my head 3 times without actually either moving away or at least trying to defend myself. This is how this shit starts. For any other guy who's reading this, who's watching this video, this is how this shit starts in a real life event in school, for example. The bully isn't just randomly going to come over and punch you like and knock you out. It's straight like that. No. They nip at you first to see how weak you are. And the more that you allow, the more that they will push for. Because the kind of person who will defend themselves from the nip, from the small attack at the back of the head, is the kind of person that they don't actually want to mess with, because that kind of person is going to fight back even more when it's a real fight. What they're looking for is someone who basically has, you know, the fight, flight, or freeze. They're looking for a freeze. Because freezers are like the freezers and guys who run away are like the funniest for these fucked up guys. Like basically for the traumatized man who's being aggressive to others, they want you to either freeze and just like look at him and, you know, whimper away and say something like which you think is cool, like, oh no, this isn't worth it. You know, you're going to try and pretend to be the big man even though you're scared. Or they want you to run away and then they get some satisfaction from that as well. If the moment like this, some bullshit like this happens, you look intimidating. Maybe, I'm not going to promote this, but if you just fucking punch them straight in the fucking chin after the first moment some stranger does some weird shit to you, like basically he's assaulted you already. So in many countries, if you just fucking knocked him out right now, in many countries you'd actually be fine. If you've been hit first, in many countries you're fine to basically hurt the guy afterwards. One punch is usually fine. If you hit him again on the floor, then you're fucked legally. But if someone touches you aggressively and you just hit them straight away, in most countries that would be fine. You can go and Google it for your own country or something, but I'm just saying that would be fine. And if his friends were stood there, I would believe that most likely they would actually get a little bit like scared of you at that moment, compared to if you allow him to hit you and you just kind of like look at him and make a cute little joke like a pussy. As I keep on walking, the guy doesn't stop following me. So at this point, this is like a 999 situation. This is like a scream and run away and like shout for people to call the police for you, honestly. Because it's like this guy could literally stab you right now. He could punch you, you could fall over, you could die right now. At this point, when someone has already put their hands on you, don't try to pretend that things are normal. I wish that I got this kind of advice when I was younger, because I've been through a few of these situations where weird motherfuckers, strangers, have just followed me and just started to harass me, started to assault me. And you have, I bet for the young man who's wrote this, Mom Chill, and for anyone else who relates to this, for some reason, even at this moment, it's like you don't want to appear that things aren't normal because you're in this social situation. You don't want to seem lame of like looking at him scared and shouting and saying, get off me, someone call the police. You don't want to like look like that because you still want to look like kind of cool. And so you kind of play it off like, you know, you're silent doing nothing. I don't know why we're like that, because we can't like, I don't know, our ego's too high to look like the victim. We don't want to look like the victim. But at this point, when someone has already assaulted you and they're also following you, this is a point to get fucking loud. This is the point to look at him, shout and say, get away from me, get away from me. Start running away from him, start like screaming, start like pointing down, like waving your hand to other people, telling them like, whoa, get away from me. He's got a knife. Just fucking shout that, bro. Honestly, he's got a knife. He's got a knife. Because that's when people will take you seriously. That's a quick tip I'm also going to give you as well. You're going to call the police in a situation like this. He's got a knife. I've just seen it. He's just threatened me. He threatened me. He said he's going to stab me. He said he's going to stab me. Even if they're not. I'm just going to tell you the fucking, like, the lie that I would actually advise if you were my real friend. Many YouTubers will be pussies about this because this is, maybe it's technically illegal or something, but like basically you can't get into trouble for this because all you have to say is, he said he was going to stab me. stab me. That's it. That's all you've got to say. If you call the police, you say something like that, I think he's got a knife, he said he's going to stab me, they will be there at least 5 times faster than if you just say like, oh, you know, there's a guy in the train station and he's being racist to me or something. I'm talking from experience, by the way. I'm talking from experience. If you say some bullshit of like, oh, there's a guy who's, you know, kind of following me and he's saying mean things to me, it'll take the police a while to come over. When you just lie, but it could be the truth and say he's got a knife, people come a lot faster. Because I don't know if you've seen this story with me. Let's go find the news report. Yeah, Sylvester Solocki. It's interesting that all of the possession of a bladed article. So this man tried to murder me. It's interesting that all of the titles for some reason only talk about like, oh, he was vile, racist abuse. What they don't mention, possession. He had a 13-inch knife on him. This guy who followed me onto a train, being racist, screaming Paki, screaming terrorist, all of this stuff. This was after a bombing that happened in Manchester, in like the city that I was staying in. Followed me onto the train, even though I don't think it was even the train he was supposed to get. Him and his friend as well, his tall fucking friend, like 6'5" friend, sat on next to him, and just screaming racist shit to me. Ended up following me off the train on my stop, even though it was not his stop because he lived about 20 miles away from there. Him and his friend followed me off the train. His friend has a big fucking glass bottle, like a wine bottle or some shit. And this guy, being a creepy motherfucker, let me just zoom in on his face as well, because this is fucking weird, right? Imagine this fucking guy saying racist shit to you. Just hide the shoes. We're not doing free advertisement for them, bro. This guy, he followed me off the train and he started acting weird. Before he was aggressive and he was shouting like, big fucking Polish guy. Or imagine that accent, like Paki, just screaming like this shit, calling me a terrorist and everything. And I was literally, this was not even recent, right? So I was like a timid little 19-year-old university student just going back home after working. We get off the tram stop and there's this dark alleyway in the tram stop in my hometown. He follows me and he starts doing something different. My dad's here now as well because I text my dad saying, come inside, because my dad was going to pick me up. So he's inside. He's asking me, like, what's going on? You said there was a racist guy and stuff. This guy comes down and he starts, like, he gets a bit aggressive, but then he stops and he has, like, this weird fucked up smile and he's like, okay, sorry. And one hand, he's pretending that he's ready to, like, shake our hand. The other hand, he's just got, like, this. Just next to his pants. Like from behind him. What do you think he's doing there? He's like, sorry. Think about what the fuck he was trying to do. What if I went and shook his hand? He had a 13-inch knife on him. He was only jailed for 1.5 years, but this was like a real fucking, I've got the police report and everything. He was jailed for 1.5 years. The reason why it wasn't longer, because it wasn't, attempted murder, just because of like a kind of like a fucked up law in the UK where if they don't take the knife out, it's significantly less punishment. If he took the knife out and we actually saw it, then it would be way more serious because that's like attempted murder basically. He was very careful and he kept the knife like in his waistline, and so he only got possession of a bladed article instead of like attempted murder or whatever other charge he would have gotten. So 1.5 years he lost of his life. 1 year and 9 months he lost of his life. He's back on the street, actually. And in fact, only a few weeks after this event, I actually was going to work to the same train station. And me and my dad saw his friend walking around town. So my dad stayed in the car whilst I waited for my train, texting me, no, it's okay, he's went the other way. And for years, I had PTSD on public transport. For years, I actually would quite often have nightmares about being on a train that crashed or some weird shit like that. And I didn't take public transport much after that The few times that I had to, because I got like a different job or whatever, it was always so stressful and like anxious. I actually remember telling my girl that there was this job after this event where I had to take the tram, which is the same kind of one that this young man had to. And I had to take the tram for, to get to work, to get home. And it was this just incredible, stressful period of like, nothing really happened on that tram. There was a few moments where like homeless guys got on and they were shouting and stuff, but nothing like terrible, like, to me. But I remember literally every single day feeling like scared, and I'd be sweaty when I'd get on the tram. I'd just be so like overwhelmed getting onto it. And I was pretending to be normal. And this, it's interesting because I certainly was not a pussy. I was training to get into the military. I had a shaved head. I was doing hundreds of sit-ups and push-ups every day. I was waking up at 5 a.m., working full-time, going to the gym twice a day. Like, I was not a pussy at this time. And yet I was scared of getting onto public transport because of the experiences that I had been through. It's a shame public transport is where a lot of this kind of bullshit happens, where like a stranger will just do some bullshit to you. It's really annoying that it is, because sometimes you need the bus, you need the tram, you need the train, and all it takes is like one motherfucker to ruin it for you. It's interesting because it is often with different races as well. Like I've personally had a lot of racism going on public transport, like for most of my life. And I'll just quickly say that makes me so fucking grateful for having money now, because I never basically have to take public transport apart from planes, but I buy like business class, so I'm not set next to the peasants anyway. But yeah, the reason why I'm bringing this up is just because for this young man, like, I'm just saying, like, I relate to you, and it's fucking brutal what you've been through. He slaps my neck, I look at him, and he smiles and says something in his language, and I think, oh, that's probably just a friendly way of getting my attention. Weird, but let's carry on. The guy doesn't stop following me. This was your first mistake, my friend. In broken Bulgarian, he asks for 2 levers, local currency. I say no because I don't have them, but because I don't... Not because I don't have them, but because I don't want to give money to dickheads. Suddenly, he tries to trip me. At this point, I know what he's doing. He wants beef. Me being very high tea just stops and stares at him. I remember to breathe deeply, and I ain't scared in the slightest. This reads kind of like a self-improvement, like, novel or something. I am pissed. I inquire, what was that for? He didn't expect me to stand my ground. He got up in my face to the point that I whiffed his stinky breath, and I can count each and every pore on his disgraceful face. He pushed me and said, carry on walking so we don't whoop your ass. It dawned on me. The other guys didn't go on their separate ways. It was a setup. They wanted to beat me up. It was a split-second decision. Does my ego get in the way, start fighting, and risk getting beat up, stabbed, or shot? Or do I decide to play the victim and carry on walking? Thankfully, I had enough wit to choose the second option. I calmly carry on walking. He attempts to provoke me again by trying to trip me a second time. I just keep on walking. I turn around and he's frustrated that he couldn't get me into a fight. He curses me, this time in pretty good Bulgarian. I safely return home. For the rest of the day, even during meditation, my heart was beating very rapidly. I'm not sure if you actually did the right thing, I actually really think this young man got lucky, and not that he actually did the right thing, because basically you just made yourself look like an absolute pussy in front of these guys, or this one guy who's going to tell his friends, and you are going to say that, yeah, you have to keep taking the same public tram. So if the guy sees you again, you are fucked, by the way. I'm just being honest, right? And not only that, as much as you can say, oh yeah, I'm high tea and I stared at him and I'm such an alpha male. The truth is your heart's beating fast anyway, and you've been traumatized from the situation. So it's like, you didn't win this situation. Don't act with this like level of ego of like, oh yeah, but I'm so high tea that I just looked at him. No, you looked at him because you were too afraid of doing anything else. The real safe thing that you should have done is the moment you realized he was following you off the train, you should have sprinted away and you should have screamed for help. You should have literally shouted loud, shouted, fire, fire. You should have shouted, he's got a knife, just anything. You should have called the police. You should have sprinted away. That would have been the best thing. And I don't blame you not for doing that, because often when I've been in these situations, I haven't run away because for some reason my body just like doesn't fucking let me. I'm a guy who freezes. I'll just stand there up until the last moment, and that's when I'll fucking fight, right? So I don't blame you for that, but like, don't act to yourself like, oh yeah, I'm so high tea and he was a dirty man and stuff, because he made you a bitch in this situation. It's very easy afterwards for you to write a nice post and say like, oh yeah, you know, he had pores and stuff, and you know, like I'm so high T and I'm really like strong and stuff. But it's okay to admit, like, you probably were the bitch in this situation. You didn't act right. You didn't even do the safe thing. He could have actually attacked you. If he drank a little bit more that day, if his friends messaged him like, oh yeah, go on, fuck it, let's go rob that kid, he would have just punched you out of nowhere because you gave him 100 chances to. You let him get like within like striking distance of you, or you let him strike you multiple times. So don't act like you navigated this in the best way and that, oh, you know, I did it so well, I'm high T or something. You basically gave him the opportunity to attack you multiple times. That's not high T at all. Don't bullshit yourself, young man, because I've been here and I wish someone said this to me. After those situations that I've been in, I would shit talk the random guy to my brother as if that was going to help anything and say, oh, well, you know, if I ever see him again, I'll kill him or some shit. Like, no, you won't, you fucking pussy. No, you won't. You gave him like 10 times to hit you because you are a pussy. And I'm saying this because I'm on your side. You've got to think to yourself, how the fuck did I let that guy get so close to me multiple times to the point that he literally touched me 3 or 4 times? That's the problem. The problem isn't his dirty paws or his skin or his breath or anything. You can insult him now, but that's not going to help you. The problem you should be thinking is, I need to make sure that no aggressive man ever gets within striking distance of me ever again. It's very easy to say that you've got high T now after the situation when your heart's beating fast like a pussy. It's very easy to look back and say, oh yeah, you know, if he does it again, I'll knock him out. You gave him the chance to literally fucking murder you. If he was a little bit more drunk, if he was a little bit more like judgment impaired because he got 5% less sleep last night, instead of just slapping you on the back of the neck, he would have punched you in the back of the head instead. If he was feeling a little bit more confident, if he was a little bit more broke and he tried to buy cigarettes that day but he didn't have money for them, he would have chosen to rob you instead. It could have been much worse, young man. You don't give people this opportunity, multiple opportunities to get that close to you. I really want all young guys watching this to know this. If there's someone being aggressive to you, keep them at a distance. Now, absolute worst case scenario, sometimes you'll need to swing and sometimes you'll need to just fucking flail your arms out and just try and defend yourself fine. Sometimes you're going to need that. And that's actually been my advice for street fights, because I hate how many videos on YouTube say like, don't even fight and just run away. Because that's good advice, but sometimes you can't. Sometimes like your own body freezes up. But you need to have like this standard, like this level of respect for yourself where you think to yourself, if someone gets into your personal space and is acting aggressive, at that point, all bets are off. Don't try and look like a normal guy who's, you know, you're trying to mug this guy and act like you're the big man, because that's the pussy version. The bigger version of you, the guy who's more like mentally healthy, when someone gets into your face, would scream. That's the healthier thing, like the higher T thing to do, is to scream, not to be silent and think, oh yeah, I'm a stoic and I'm just going to look at his eye contact, yeah, because I really like this guy. I'm so, mwah. What the fuck is that, pussy? That's not the high T thing to do, just stand there and just look at him and be like, that's not high T at all. High T, it's like high testosterone is if this guy looks at you weird and he starts getting into your space and he touches you, at that point you should be screaming loud. You should disrupt everyone around you. Everyone should look over to you, because that's going to make it so that these guys are going to be less likely to do any bullshit, because they'll get intimidated that now there's 10 people across the street looking at them. That's more of the high testosterone thing. When 2 cavemen are fighting, do you really think one caveman's just going to look at the other one and just gonna hold his eye contact? Do you really think that's the high testosterone caveman? Or do you think the high testosterone caveman is gonna be fucking screaming and chanting like a warrior, like a big fucking throaty fucking shout? They're going to be fucking shouting. They're going to be grunting. They're not going to be silent. You were silent because this is like trained, like the same way you trained with masturbation. You were silent. You had shallow breath. This is the same way that, you know, your parents have trained you. No, be quiet when you play video games and everything. This isn't high T. For any young man who gets into a situation like this, even in school, the moment someone assaults you, they touch you, at that point, say to yourself, all bets are off. I'm going in like a fucking animal. I'm going to scream so that everyone fucking like looks over. You can scream and you can literally just like, it's not like weird to do that. If someone fucking hits you, even in any level, even if they're just being weird, they do a little random slap or something, scream, get off me, what the fuck are you doing? Watch out, I think he's got a weapon, watch out, get away from us. Scream like that. Don't let them get away with this. Don't just stand there like proper cute, holding his eye contact and stuff, creating this bond with him. Don't be like, that's the weak thing to do. Oh, and then you convince yourself you've got high tea afterwards, man. The problem, basically every day I have to walk down the same street and use the same public tram. I am bound to see them again. I am a target now. They have weapons. I don't. Even if I did, that would escalate the situation even more. Do not take any weapons with you, young man. Don't do that. This is what happens in London. Let me show you something. London stabbing. This is what happens in London. I believe almost every day in London, in the big city, someone gets stabbed. Almost every single day. And you know, a big reason why this happens is because there's gangs that go around robbing people, stabbing people. And then there's young men who get scared of the gang and they start bringing knives out too. And then when they randomly get looked at by someone else, they're more twitchy. And then a random guy, like a normal kid who just got scared, ends up being a murderer. You take a knife out and no one wins, including you. A knife is not a self-defense weapon, like, at all. Taking a weapon out, think about how anxious you're going to feel when you take a weapon out. Compared to a normal day, sometimes your brain will randomly be present. You'll be on your phone. You'll be listening to YouTube videos, whatever. When you have a knife in your bag, you're going to be fucking looking for danger. And you're going to start to see it where there isn't some. There's a video on my second channel, if you want to have a look at it. Hamza Unfiltered. Hammer. Yeah. Go and watch this video right here. Hamza Unfiltered. I slept with a hammer next to my bed in London. This is not a fake picture, by the way. I didn't just like put that hammer there. I genuinely, because I was very anxious when I lived in London myself, which you can't blame me for if this is the shit you see, right? I bought this hammer on Amazon and I kept it next to my bed because I was always so anxious that like someone was going to like break through our apartment door and try and rob us. And guess what happened the moment I got that hammer? Really think to yourself, the weapon is so that you feel safer, that you've got a weapon in case if someone attacks you, right? Really think to yourself, do you think I spent more of the night feeling safer when I had the hammer next to me? Or did I spend more of the night feeling anxious because of the message that I had said to myself that I needed a weapon? It destroyed my health and my sleep. It made me so anxious because I had this weapon next to my bed, and the amount of times I kind of visualized and thought to myself, like, okay, if someone broke through right now, I'd roll off the bed, grab that hammer, I'll do this, I'll do that, right? It made things worse. If you take a weapon with yourself, like if you take a weapon outside, it will make things worse. And you know, there's a story, I've been telling a lot of my own personal stories, but I think that might help you here because I've been through a lot of shit like this, right? That same hammer that I just showed you a picture of, I actually could have accidentally murdered my best friend. I'm not even exaggerating. My best friend, he came over to the apartment to stay with me and my girl. Like, I think it was New Year's Eve or whatever. He was going to stay for one night. And, you know, it was a long time since I had seen him. It was hype. He came over. We were like, you know, we had a couple more friends come over. It was an awesome, like, social event. And eventually, one of his friends are going to come round as well. So they were both going to sleep in the other room. Then the next day, we were going to go explore London, whatever, right? Me and my girl go to sleep early. And my friend's going to stay up a little bit. He's waiting for his friend to come home, to come here, but his friend's train's been delayed, whatever. I'm asleep. And then suddenly I'm awake. And I'm like dazed and confused. I don't know why I'm awake. My heart's racing fast. My girl wakes up and she's looking all worried. I sleep with fucking mouth tape, with earplugs, with an eye mask. So all my senses are fucking cut out, right? My girl's there. She's like holding on to me. She's looking scared. I don't know what the fuck's happening. And we hear a noise and I'm literally shit scared because I'm like, oh fuck, this is the time. But you know, we've heard noises in this apartment before. It's someone else closing their door. And this is when the scariest thing that could happen happens. My bedroom door starts to fucking open. And I see someone walk inside and I am so terrified. And you know that this is not like a fake story. You know why? Because I didn't do anything. I was so scared that I was frozen in bed looking at the man entering our bedroom like this. And then it's my fucking friend. And he's like, oh, Hamza, how do you open the lock on the door? You know, my friend's out, like, Luke's outside now. And he's like, I'm so sorry to wake you guys up, right? I tried opening, like, basically the lock on the door was a bit weird, and he couldn't open the door for his friend. And he was like, oh, you know, I tried doing it myself a few times, but I really couldn't. He's been stood outside for like 10 minutes. I've been watching a YouTube tutorial and stuff. And, you know, we laugh about it whenever I open it for him. I'm like, yeah, good night, bro. Fucking dick, right? He just woke me up, right? Nothing. And as I'm going to sleep, I just thought to myself, you know, I've been literally mentally visualizing for this kind of moment, that the moment that I would hear that someone broke in, I would take that hammer and I would aim for the back of the skull and I would just fucking try and hit. Imagine if I did that day. Imagine if the moment I heard that noise, you know, just for some reason, the probability of me not being in the freeze mode, but being in more of the fight mode turned on, which could have happened, right? If I had like 23 more testosterone nanograms per deciliter that day, maybe I would have entered fight instead of freeze that day. Who knows, right? Imagine I grabbed that hammer, I heard the noise, I'm about to go check it out, and my door starts opening. And imagine I'm just filled with that level of adrenaline where I just hit. Because I was, you know, I was dazed and confused. It wasn't in my mind that my friend was staying over, because it was the random middle of the night, and it wasn't in my brain. I could have murdered my best friend. Genuinely. Around this time is when I had the worst health of for my entire life. I use health trackers like Aura Ring and Whoop and everything. And all of my metrics got fucked up around this time, which is probably the same thing that's happening to this young man. My HRV, which is your sign of recovery, dropped down to like 14, 15, which is like the lowest you may have ever heard of anyone's HRV. Usually it's at least like 30, 40, 50, 60. A really good numbers like 60, 100, okay. Mine went down to 15. I was usually 60. My resting heart rate, so the lower the better, was always around 52, 53, always, month to month, 52, 53. It jumped up to 70. 70. It was as if I became obese within a month. My health was fucked. And the reason why was because I was circulating the anxiety from, you know, shit that had happened, basically like these kind of street attacks that had happened to this guy. In London, I saw multiple people get hurt in like street fights and stuff. I saw like one random guy in a train station start like shouting at people, being aggressive and abusive to them. I saw the Uber Eats driver, you know how like Uber Eats and those food delivery guys like go on their motorbikes to deliver food. I saw one of those guys get robbed outside of our apartments. And the crackheads were literally like rooting through his fucking like his bag of food to steal like 30 pounds of food. And so that scared us, because that particular spot where that delivery driver just got robbed, me and my girl would go on walks there. She'd go on walks there by herself. I didn't even consider like how much danger this was. But sometimes I'd be working and my girl hadn't like left the house in the day, and so she wanted to go for a walk, and it started getting dark. And I didn't really think that was like an issue, because we lived next to a fucking primary school. Like we lived next to a primary school. In the morning we'd see mothers and children, you know, skipping and going to the school. I didn't consider that this would be somewhere that would have shit like this, which you probably didn't either. So what I'm saying is, like, I became very anxious and very sick after this, and my actions of keeping a weapon ready made things worse. And you might think to yourself, like, oh, but, you know, I'd rather keep the weapon just in case some bullshit happens. It's more likely to happen if you have the weapon. It's way more likely to happen. So don't get the weapon at all. They outnumber me. They are older than me. Even if I manage to beat one up, the other two guys or more will level me, yeah. I train kickboxing and I can defend myself, but that does nothing when they have a gun. Yeah, you've got brain here. I can call the police, but I have no proof that they harass me. Even if they do get arrested, the law in Bulgaria is such that if they are younger than 18, which is a possibility, they immediately get released in 24 hours. I see no way out. For the past 2 days, I have had my dad escort me because this is genuinely serious. I'd still be calling the police, because you put that pressure on them and you know, like, you call the police. Imagine you call the police 5 times over the next few days, and the police now are like, you know, looking around on the tram. Often they've been getting a bunch of calls for these kids who are harassing people. They'll start to send more police officers there. For the people that have never lived in a dangerous neighborhood, this sounds ridiculous and as if I am over-exaggerating. Nah, I mean, not for me. And you know what's interesting is, like, the neighborhoods where this has happened to me, it's like you really wouldn't believe it. In London, I was in, if anyone knows, Canary Wharf, which is like this big, like, let me show you a picture. This is where this shit happened. Canary Wharf, right? Look at this. Fucking fancy fucking part of London where all the finance, like billionaire buildings and everything are at. Really fancy part. You know what's interesting is you can look at all this and think, oh wow, this is so nice, right? Before we moved to Canary Wharf, I wonder if a Canary Wharf walkthrough. You can live in a really nice part. There's a video which you might find so fucking funny. There's a video where you literally see at the start of the video, there's a group of like teenagers doing drugs, like literally out in public. Like basically there's like a small gang of guys. I wonder if I can find it here. Look, I just want to show you this exact video because look at how fancy this is. Each one of these buildings is worth like multiple billions, right? Each one of these buildings, like this building right there, actually, I can show you this. This is the one where I was about to get an apartment in this circular building. I'm not going to live there, so it's fine for me to show you this. But basically, this exact circular building, I was about to go live in. I paid the deposit and I had like everything ready. It was just like a problem with the landlord. They were trying to like finesse me afterwards. They wanted me to pay more after we had already agreed on a price. It was only like £20 more a month, but I told them to get fucked. Because if we've got an agreement, you can go fuck yourself, right? I think it's this video here when it actually starts. I just want to show you because look at how fancy this entire place is. And in this video, you literally still see like a group of youths who are like taking what's called NOS gas, like laughing gas, like this drug. Maybe it's not this video, actually. Apologies, I just wasted your time. But basically, like, imagine one of those random, 4K walk through the city videos. And it's like he's walking like this at nighttime. And there's just like 4 guys who are literally just taking hard drugs right there, like full on crackheads, like laughing gas. Like you inhale this fucking gas that turns your brain off and makes you pass out. There's like 4 teenagers doing that in the video. It's so fucked. So it's like, for people who have never lived in a dangerous neighborhood, even in a safe, like even in like a established neighborhood, this shit happens. Like you have crackheads randomly show up. But I swear this shit is real. I have seen them before flexing one another what type of knife or gun they've stolen. More disturbing, when I look into the forum of our neighborhood, other people have been severely harassed by these 3 individuals. Yeah, call the police right now and tell them. Even right now, even you can just say to the police like, oh, this happened a while ago. But you should at least be like calling the police because at least that's like some kind of backup that you'll have, that if you went over to the tram again and there was a police officer there, you'd feel a bit safer that day. By the way, guys, it's very interesting how my brain blocks traumatic shit like this. I've been safe now since it happened because I've been getting escorted by my family and I'm on vacation in a different country. And when I reread my post for a second, what I said seemed absurd, as if I'm lying, and even I started feeling guilty for making the post. Yeah, when you look back over a traumatic event, sometimes like, it feels a bit fucked up. Like when I tell you about the shit that I've been through, I know for a fact there'll be some people watching it thinking, oh, he's exaggerating, he's lying and stuff. Just because if you've never been in this random situation where a random stranger has tried to hurt you, you almost can't believe it because some people genuinely live their entire lives in safety and comfort. And so when you tell them like you've just been in this PvP enabled situation, they can't even believe it. But now when I force myself to relive the situation in my mind and realize how serious it is, I remember it again. My brain tried to erase this from my memory. If it wasn't for this post, in a few weeks, I probably would have forgotten this ever happened until I get harassed again. Yeah, you wouldn't have totally forgotten. Your conscious brain would have basically forgotten it, but your body does not forget. In fact, you might want to go and get that book, The Body Keeps the Score. This is a very interesting book on trauma you might want to go and get because it's relevant for this. Basically, your body holds trauma. It's so interesting. Your body, your muscles literally hold trauma as some kind of like physical residue. And once you understand this, it makes it so much easier to overcome trauma. Like I'm sure now, if I got traumatized, I'm sure that I'd be able to get over it at least 10 times faster than normal people because I understand this now. Basically, trauma is actually stored as like physical residue inside of your body, inside of your muscles. And you've got to do things like stretching and breath work to release it. Therapy and talking about your problems doesn't do shit. It's been proven not to be effective. The effectiveness of most therapy is laughably low, very laughably low. The effectiveness of medication can be high, but it's only short term and it's not like a real cure. The real cure comes from weird spiritual stuff like breath work. Breath work, in my opinion, is the fastest way to remove trauma. Very interesting. Our brains block this stuff, but the problem is that then it gets ingrained into our subconscious and it dictates your entire life. Yeah, well said. So yeah, if traumatic shit has happened or happens to you, be on the lookout because your brain will try to brush it away and it will get ingrained in your subconscious beliefs. Yeah. So basically what happens is trauma gets stored in your body and your body creates emotions that your brain listens to. And then your brain produces thoughts to tell you, okay, I'm scared of that guy over there. I'm going to produce this mental visualization to scare you. All of your thoughts often just come from your body's emotions, and your body's emotions comes from like weird residue and hurt and pain and trauma that's been left inside from childhood and from shit like this. And you definitely don't want that to happen. Anyway, thank you guys for all the advice you gave. I really do appreciate it. At least I don't feel so alone now. This post got a shit ton of attention. I wish you a fantastic year full of brotherhood, discipline, masculine challenge, learning, growth, and progress. And don't forget to have fun with some feminine, radiant, gorgeous women. David said, find another way of getting home. And Mom Chill replied, there's no other practical route. David said, get a knife or something else that would protect you. This is fucking awful advice. Mom Chill said, mother won't let me. Mother's based. Lewis replied to David and said, if someone like that finds a knife on you, or if you pull it out on them before they pull it out on you, it only makes the situation worse. If you pull out a knife, you're much more likely to be the one who ends up getting stabbed. Trust me. Yeah, that's so true. People are... this comment is deleted, but people are, I think they're discussing which martial arts you should train to defend yourself. I actually have completely different advice to everyone on the internet. Everyone argues like, oh, boxing's better than this and this one's better than this. They're all pretty good. The most important thing is that you just get good at one of them. Like you can go and, which one's the most effective matters less than the one that you're actually going to get good at. Because if you're shit at boxing, but you go for a few months and it's boring and you don't enjoy it and you don't even want to do it, then you're still going to be a shit boxer. But if you could go and do jujitsu for the rest of your life, and people can argue, oh, but jujitsu, it's not going to be a good enough street fight because you'll be on the floor and stuff. But if you're a fucking black belt in jujitsu, it's still going to be helpful than being like a complete beginner in boxing. But what I would argue is don't even consider martial arts for self-defense, because there's an exercise that you can practice which is far more effective, literally 100 times more functional and realistic when it comes to self-defense. And it's practicing sprinting. I was going to make an entire video on this, but practice doing sprints, especially from standstill. So imagine you go to the gym or to the park, stand still as if, this was a normal situation, and then sprint. Practice doing that, because when you think about it, that's going to be the most functional exercise for times like this, for times that you're late to the bus or something, for times that someone's being mean, for times that you need to go and save someone. Sprinting is actually going to be the most functional movement you can possibly do. Nothing else even comes close. Not the farmer's walk. No martial arts are not even in. This is like S tier self-defense. S tier functional fitness is sprinting specifically from standstill. And then if you want to make it even more advanced, sprint, but turn around first. So basically, imagine you go to a park, you stand straight. What you're going to do is, by standing up normal, imagine you're even holding your phone as well to make it more realistic. You're going to turn around and sprint in the other direction as fast as possible. Because imagine how functional that is. I was going to make an entire video for this. I think that's the one exercise that would help you save your life in the future. Everyone's telling him, yeah, go train martial arts and stuff. That will certainly still help. I'm not like discrediting martial arts. It really helps to keep you calm in these situations. Yesterday I went on a run here in like the middle of Scotland. And obviously Scotland countryside's very safe, right? So I'm not like saying something would have happened. But my brain did generate this thought asking me like, if something happened here, like I was in the middle of nowhere in like rural time, I walked past like a bunch of old white people and I randomly got like a scary thought of like, oh, imagine if like 4 of these old guys were trying to do some like weird racist shit to me right now or something. And I randomly got this like sense of calm, because I was like, you know what? Even if there were multiple guys, I'd actually do pretty well in a fight. I've done hundreds of hours of martial art in total. I've done hundreds of sessions, and I'm not like some amazing, professional fighter. And if someone has a knife, they'll beat the shit out of me, of course. If someone has a gun, you can get guns in UK, so someone would win. But in basically against a couple of normal guys, I'd put the bets on me. And so that kept me like fairly calm. I was running through basically this empty, isolated, and almost like this horror movie where like it was all misty and dark and everything. And I walked past a guy with a massive dog and everything. And I literally like, even though I felt a little bit anxious, I also had this certainty that I would be fine as well. You can say like, oh, I'm crazy for this because this is the middle of Scotland, nothing's going to happen. And of course, fine. But sometimes your brain does generate these kind of thoughts sometimes, just because, especially as a man, like, you're very likely to be attacked at some point in your life. And so it's a valuable random insight to have. Dominic said, do any of your friends do you have any friends that go on the same route as you? Being with someone might help to scare them off. That's an awesome comment. That's actually such a practical, level-headed comment from Dominic there. And Arthur said he was thinking about the same thing. Mom Chill said, sadly, I don't. Yeah, it looks like this comment here helped Mom Chill, where Arthur said, pretty damn scary situation. Maybe go home with someone or try to move from there. And Mom Chill replied, I could get my mother to escort me with a car, but I don't know. And it seems like from his edits that he posted right here that he's been getting his family to escort him, like to drop him off to school or something. Hamthi Ahmed said, avoid the tram. Stay away from all the hotspots you might find them. Send someone who they might not suspect in the tram for a week to see if they are still expecting you or something like that. Have a gun in case of emergency. Oh, I don't know about that, bro. Tell your parents that they are taking fucking risks with your life and move to a different town. I'm being serious. Fucking shout and argue for them to at least send you to some other town ASAP. This comment is half good, half bad. Avoid the tram 100%. Even though Mom Chill's saying like, oh, there's no other way to get to school or whatever. I'd fight for it and figure out another way. Walk through like the major road or something. Like the what are they called? I'm not sure what they'll be called in Bulgaria, but basically like walk on the heavily populated roads, even if it's going to take an hour. Just have like an hour-long walk in the morning instead of taking the tram or something. I really don't think public transports are good to take. I really think they fuck up the mental health of people who don't even have these emergency situations, never mind the guys who do. I really hope I never take public transport again because of this type of shit. I'd say to make friends with some dangerous guys from that area, but that's easier said than done. I don't know about that, Pedro. Come on, man. Go be friends with like fucking drug dealer there or something. I'm pretty good friends with this dude nicknamed Kratos because I have a big ass house and I let him and his friends hang out with me there. It's helped me out immensely. If some goons try to rob me because I look and am like a preppy rich kid, all I have to do is say that I know Kratos, and they'll be like, "Oh, my bad, bro. You don't look like a chunga." This one time I was trying to get alcohol at a popular party street in my town, and the store owner wouldn't give it to me because he didn't believe I was 18. Then a random drug dealer I had never seen before in my life, who was surrounded by a bunch of guys, approached me and was like, "Yo, dude, you're Pedro, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And he's like, "Kratos talks about you all the time, bro. Do you need anything? I'll give you a discount." And I was like, "Oh, I don't do drugs, but I'm trying to get alcohol, but I can't because the dude doesn't believe I'm 18. And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it, bro. We've robbed that store before. The owner is scared of us. I'll get you a bottle." Then he took me into the store to grab a bottle, turned to the owner and said, this one is on the house. And we just turned and left. I give him 10 euros for the help. And he said, if you have anything, even protection, all I have to do is ask. So moral of the story, use your rich assets to make friends with the right people, but make sure you're also not getting taken advantage of. Set clear boundaries. For example, I never pay for anything. All I do is hang out with them and let them pull up to my crib with me to chill. That's interesting. I'm not sure I'd give that same piece of advice because that's a high risk, high reward situation. But yeah, this is a very good comment by Dario. He's actually at the top of the leaderboard inside of Adonis Gang. He said, "You are wise to avoid conflict and to train to defend yourself. You said there is no other route. The only solution I can think of is asking a friend or a relative of yours to escort you by car." Yeah, that's exactly what I would say as well. I'm sorry that this has happened to you, Mom Chill, because I know how fucking annoying the situation is. Having experienced multiple things like this myself. And there was a comment of yours I didn't actually read out just then, but you were he commented, like this young man commented saying something like, fuck public transport, fuck crackheads, and fuck these guys. And I felt the exact same way. That kind of energy is not going to help you. The biggest enemy right now is not going to be these guys. It's going to be your own anxiety. Because these guys might trouble you for a few minutes every month or so, but your own anxiety will be there 24/7. So the last piece of advice that I'll give to Mom Chill and any other young man who's been through shit like this, maybe it's with bullying, maybe it's with, strangers attacking you or something. Prioritize your mental health. It's insane just how much your own mind can turn into an enemy and constantly keep you vigilant, constantly keep you looking out and scared of potential attacks. And I unfortunately wasted years of my life in that situation before I discovered the concept of mental health and meditating. So make sure you keep up your meditation. And this might be a great time, Mom Chill, to like double or even triple your meditation amount every day. I really hope that helps you. Join Adonis School. It's the first link in the description. You can ask questions like this. You can ask for advice. You join the community. We've got 26,000 guys in there. We've got 469 guys who want to join right now. That's awesome. Yeah, we're getting so many guys who are joining our community. So it's so good to see. Yeah, go join Adonis Gang right now.